Hello everyone, welcome to another look at finance. In these increasingly complex economic times, let's analyze rationally and make informed decisions. Don't forget to subscribe. Recently, during the 21st annual meeting of the Volday International Discussion Club, Russian President Vladimir Putin responded to a journalist's question. When asked about potential U.S.-Russia cooperation against China if Trump is elected president, and the future of U.S.-Russia-China relations, Putin stated, first and foremost, our cooperation and friendship with China are not aimed at any third party. Our relationship with China is not directed against any other nation, including the United States. Our partnership with China is about fostering development for our countries and securing safety for our peoples. This also applies to our relationship with the U.S. As for your assumption, I find it hard to imagine that the newly elected U.S. president would propose such an alliance. I believe he understands that this would be utterly unrealistic in the current environment. Russia has never allied with any country to counter a third party, let alone against China. For me, such a notion is entirely unrealistic. As I have stated before, our relationship with China has reached an unprecedented level of trust, cooperation, and friendship. Large nations like Russia and China, sharing thousands of kilometers of common borders and a long history of coexistence, may differ culturally but share many common values. This is a valuable achievement we must cherish and deepen for the benefit of future generations. Regarding relations with the United States, we have always been open to restoring ties, though much depends on the U.S., as we have never taken steps to damage our relationship or imposed sanctions. We have not instigated conflicts in their neighboring regions, nor have we intentionally encouraged such events. In practice, we have refrained from any such behavior. Why the U.S. acts otherwise is puzzling to me. I hope they eventually realize that, to avoid global conflict, such actions should be restrained. President Trump, for instance, expressed similar views. We will see how these dynamics evolve, given that the office of the U.S. President carries certain responsibilities and is tied to those who help secure the position. Putin's response offers some insightful points, revealing not only the closeness and stability of China-Russia relations, but also his deep understanding of today's international dynamics. In this episode, we'll dissect Putin's remarks, exploring his perspective on the China-Russia-U.S. triangle and the underlying message. Putin emphasized that Russia's relationship with China is not aimed at any third party and has reached unprecedented levels of trust, cooperation, and friendship. This is not mere diplomatic rhetoric but a clear, steady signal to the world. In recent years, the Russia-Ukraine conflict has severely strained Russia's relations with the West, with sanctions mounting. Against this backdrop, China's importance to Russia has become all the more evident. From energy and food to technological collaboration, China has become an irreplaceable partner for Russia, especially in the energy sector. China is now one of Russia's largest importers of natural gas and oil, deepening and broadening bilateral cooperation. Putin's explicit stance here signals to the outside world that regardless of any U.S.-Russia coalition against China proposal, Russia's commitment to China remains unwavering. This cooperation extends beyond the traditional strategic partnership. It is closer to a community of shared destiny, solidified by realistic interests. In other words, Putin's message is clear. Russia will not adjust its China policy to align with U.S. interests. Putin also referred to the transformation towards a multipolar global order. What does this mean? Essentially, Putin envisions a world where no single country, especially not the U.S., dominates global affairs. Both Putin and China have long advocated for a de-Americanized international system to escape the dominance of U.S. hegemony. Efforts such as de-dollarization are part of China and Russia's initiative to disrupt the U.S. dollar's monopoly in global trade. This multipolar mindset means Putin cannot entertain the notion of aligning against China with the U.S. To Putin, Sino-Russian cooperation is central to this multipolar strategy. Agreeing to a U.S.-Russia alliance against China would be tantamount to abandoning that goal, which is clearly not in Russia's interests. In Putin's ideal vision, the world is a mosaic of powerful centers. The U.S. leads the West, Russia maintains influence in Eurasia, and China emerges as a strong pole in the global economy. For Russia, collaboration with China is a means to achieve this multipolarity, not an obstacle to be dismantled in alignment with U.S. interests. Putin's remarks also present a challenge for the U.S. Should it persist in a divide and conquer approach, it may find that the relationship between China and Russia is not easily fractured. Putin's response underscores the resilience of Sino-Russian ties, built not only on immediate mutual interests but also on a shared vision of the global order. Putin explicitly stated that China-Russia cooperation is not meant to target any third party but rather to advance both nations' development. Should the U.S. attempt a U.S.-Russia alliance against China, it may find this strategy ineffective, as Sino-Russian ties are rooted in long-standing common interests. This deep relationship makes simplistic diplomatic maneuvers less feasible. Putin's remarks outline a probable future for the China-Russia-U.S. triangle. While the U.S. might try to drive a wedge between China and Russia, Putin's stance indicates that this will likely yield limited success. His commitment to a multipolar world shows a preference for the stability of Sino-Russian cooperation over alignment with the U.S. This puts the U.S. in a new diplomatic bind: how to advance its global strategy in an increasingly multipolar world. Should the U.S. continue with a Cold War-era divide and rule tactic, it may find the outcome less effective than anticipated. Instead of seeking a U.S.-Russia alliance against China, the U.S. might benefit from a more pragmatic and flexible diplomatic approach to keep pace with the shift toward a multipolar world. Putin's response serves as a reminder that simplistic divisive strategies are less applicable in today's international environment. In summary, Putin's response reflects Russia's steadfast stance on China-Russia relations and a clear understanding of the current global landscape. Faced with the hypothetical scenario of a U.S.-Russia alliance against China, Putin responded with clarity, stressing stability, mutual trust, and a commitment to multipolarity, signaling that Russia will not be swayed by external pressures to alter its China policy. For the U.S., Putin's response suggests that the U.S.-Russia alliance against China strategy may be highly challenging to execute. Even if Trump or another leader takes office, pursuing such a strategy could encounter substantial resistance from a solidified China-Russia partnership. The China-Russia-U.S. relationship will likely continue to evolve within this stable yet dynamic balance. In an era where multipolarity is accelerating, simple divisive tactics are becoming less effective. The U.S. may need a more pragmatic approach to adapt to the new international landscape. The key question for future U.S. diplomacy will be how to secure its national interests without disrupting the global balance. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Join us as we navigate these complex economic waters with rational analysis and smart decisions.